Hello and welcome to this Telecoms.com webinar produced in association with AsiaInfo. I'm Scott Baceno, Editorial Director at Telecoms.com, and today we're going to look at the business case for partnering with OTTs. Following my introduction, Mohammed Shah, Director of International Marcoms for AsiaInfo, will take you through some examples of how partnership between telcos and OTTs can prove mutually beneficial and how those can be achieved. First, I would like to set the scene by looking at some relevant questions from this year's Telecoms.com Intelligence Industry Survey, and then analyse what they tell us about current attitudes to telco/OTT partnerships. The anxiety felt by operators regarding the shift in revenue and customer relationship from them to OTT players is well documented. Communication services face strong competition in the shape of popular applications such as WhatsApp and Viber, while there are strong OTT alternatives to most other services operators might seek to offer their customers. Content delivery is another area in which operators find the scalability and agility of OTTs to be a threat to their existing revenue generation channels. Helped by minimal network operating expenditure, these companies are in a strong position to pay premium fees in exchange for lower latency when it comes to delivering video content. Operators may find it challenging to compete on delivering premium and affordable over-the-top digital services, but they also are the ones who possess the network infrastructure on which the digital players rely, so there's plenty of opportunities for partnership. The first set of survey responses we're presenting here relate to the primary business benefits for an operator looking to collaborate with OTT organizations. When rated at either 6 or 7 out of 7, with 7 being the most beneficial, 51% of respondents revealed the most likely benefit presented to operators through partnerships and collaborative efforts with OTTs is improved customer retention. This reveals their anxiety about losing subscribers to OTTs, but the fact that almost half, in this case 43.5%, also see it as a competitive differentiator indicates OTT partnership is not viewed solely as a defensive move. While a significant proportion of respondents to our survey think either charging the OTT for the use of their capability, which is defined as wholesale here, or adding a subscription bolt-on, defined as retail, are the best ways of going about an OTT partnership, half of all respondents believe that a straight revenue share deal is the best way forward. This appears to be the simplest and lowest risk solution for the operator, but the terms are likely to be subject of regular negotiation. 47%, which is nearly half, of all participants rated uncertainty over the benefits as the main inhibitor or challenge for collaborative efforts between OTTs and telcos, where 7 equals extremely challenging. This suggests that there's a lack of wider industry awareness behind the main reasons for partnerships. Against that background, I will now hand over to Mohammed to take you through his findings. Mohammed will remain online after the presentation to take any questions you might have for him. To submit a question at any time during the presentation, just type it into the comments box on this page. Without further ado, I will now hand over to Mohammed.
Thanks, Scott. That's an interesting introduction to the survey that was conducted earlier this year, I believe. And as we can see in that survey, the key findings there, the first thing that pops out is that most of the operators clearly agree that partnering with the OTTs is the best way forward. There has been a lot of experimentation around competing with the OTTs, blocking them, and all sorts of things have happened all around the world. But now majority of the operators have concluded that partnering with the OTTs is the best way forward. But clearly, as your survey has indicated, there are several challenges. And one of the key ones that I have picked up, I think, from what you have talked us through is the issue about a business case. Is there a business case? And as you've articulated it, a lack of clarity on the benefits of partnering with the OTTs. So with this in mind, what we did, AsiaInfo, was we basically commissioned a Swedish telecom consulting agency called Nordstream to explore the business case behind partnering with the OTTs to get some clarity on these benefits behind these partnerships. And those findings have come now, and I thought it was a great idea to share it with the wider industry in this webinar. So just to quickly walk you through what I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes. First, about the key challenge in partnering with OTTs, a little bit touching upon what you have already hinted out there. Secondly, what could be the solution to this problem? Also, the role of technology in OTT partnerships, because there has been some talk about, is technology important or not? Do we really have to even care about the impact that these partnerships have on OTTs, on the technology? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then I'll also briefly walk you through a business case which we have from a very large operator in China. So with that, I think I'll move on without any further delay. So, like you said, the first challenge we have is about lack of clarity in terms of the benefits. And one of the key challenges within that, from various conversations that we've had with several operators, has come out to be as the difficulty of striking favorable contracts or deals with the OTTs. So basically, the commercials, that is the area that operators are struggling with. Of course, your survey has found out several other challenges, but this seems to be the most important one that has come out in our observations and also in what Nord Stream has found out in their interviews with several operators.
Mohammed, if you don't mind me sort of interrupting briefly, I'm interested to see that you've highlighted 5 particular OTTs there. Are they highlighted as the 5 most significant, or are they just some examples of many more?
I think these are actually representatives of the most common OTTs that operators are interested in partnering with. And you must have come across a lot of these announcements saying Globe in the Philippines has partnered with Facebook, and well, every now and then, here in the UK, we have Vodafone partnering with Spotify. Austria, you have 3 partnering with Spotify. And there are several others of these. Recently, there's been a flood of press releases about Netflix entering in Europe. So these are just a handful that are representatives of the major OTTs in the market. And this is part of the challenge that most of the operators are interested in partnering with these large players only. And that is in itself is an issue. So,
okay, that's interesting. Thanks a lot.
No worries. Well, also just to complement that response there, Scott, recently I came across another survey, not particularly the Nord Stream survey, which found out that 65% of the operators who responded to that survey, and it was a pretty big survey, I think over 100 operators who responded, 65% of operators are found to be zero rating Facebook. So that's just one example here. And another finding was 85% of the operator and OTT partnerships are basically based around attracting customers and increasing ARPU. This is the objective behind the operators partnering with OTTs. At least these benefits are theoretical, at least. Now, what is actually coming out of it is a separate question. Are operators making any benefit, any profits out of these contracts, these deals, these partnerships? Is very, very doubtful. And also, if you're saying 65% of operators are partnering with Facebook, like that survey found out, then if so many of the operators out there are partnering with similar players, how are they differentiating from each other? I think one of the other challenges that you had highlighted, or one of the key benefits that operators wanted to get out of these partnerships, as you had highlighted initially in your presentation, was to establish differentiation or get competitive advantage. But these figures clearly are indicating the opposite. So this is a very big challenge. So how do operators get around this challenge? Nord Stream's research has found out that challenge of commercials can be worked around if operators moved away from partnering with these handful of large, well-established OTTs who are currently controlling the strings of these negotiations in these partnerships. So the recommendation here, or part of the solution, is basically to partner with a much larger pool of OTTs out in the market. There's absolutely no dearth of innovative OTTs in the market. There are hundreds and thousands of them continuously being added, and they are really, really innovative. When you compare them with these larger players, they probably have a lot better features and functionalities, and they can be quite more appealing. It's just that they don't have those huge marketing budgets to reach out to these larger subscriber bases and get the penetration and hold that's needed in the market. And that is where the operators really become more valuable, that they can fill this big gap for these smaller players in the market.
That's interesting. Your positioning is obviously the reason most people use Facebook is because everyone else is on Facebook and it's the most convenient thing. And the same goes for a lot of other OTT players. What you seem to be saying is that operators can act as a sort of portal or a hub for access to this much larger ecosystem of, let's say, for the sake of argument, call them tier 2 OTT players. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying, yes. And it can be a very good, mutually beneficial relationship for the operators, for those smaller players, and of course to the end consumer as well, who are going to benefit from these much more innovative players out in the market, maybe at a much smaller price point. So exactly, that is my point.
I have one other question, but I suspect it's preempting what you're leading up to, which is, of course, the reason operators don't partner with hundreds of smaller players is logistically it's quite unwieldy. So I'm expecting you to give us a solution to that.
Yeah, exactly. So while we are talking about addressing the challenge of commercials or negotiation with these big players and expanding that partnership pool to a much larger pool of OTTs, that raises the next big question. How do you logistically manage these partnerships? Because initially we are talking about maybe 10, 20, 30 partners, these bigger players. But now if we move to this larger pool, we are now talking about hundreds, potentially even thousands of OTTs as we scale up and move ahead with this digital ecosystem phenomena. So that is where technology takes a big impact, and that is when operators have to start looking into the most efficient way of managing these partnerships. So a very good question there, Scott, and you're absolutely right. That is exactly where I was going as well. So I think technology steps in. It plays a key role. I have a little illustration here, as you can see. On the left-hand side is the operator with about 5 resources dedicated to partnerships with OTTs, those people icons, as you can see there. And on the right-hand side, you have the entire partnership ecosystem. You have various partners. They could be in the form of OTTs, enterprises, digital service players, and various others, including other operators maybe. So what I'm trying to indicate here is basically those resources that an operator has, they are distributed amongst different roles there. Some of them are focused on developing APIs and developing innovative products that could help in opening up the IT system of the operators to these partners. And at the same time, these partners, as you can see on the right-hand side, they are sending in several requests that some of these resources are trying to address. But because there are these limited resources, they are not able to respond to these requests very quickly. And OTTs, they are smaller players, they're nimble players, they like agility, as you can tell. And this clogging up of work at the operator's end is not ideal in this ecosystem. And as these number of partners will increase, this challenge will only multiply and become more problematic. So these are just some of the issues that this illustration is trying to highlight. Now, if we see an alternative scenario, where we have a collaboration platform, a B2B collaboration platform, which is represented here in that black bar by Veris O2P. This is a B2B collaboration platform from AsiaInfo. It's just a representative of a platform in the market, really. So this platform helps overcome all these issues that I've spoken about. as you see, the people that were dedicated initially towards addressing requests from the OTTs have now moved into the role of developing more innovative products, of developing more APIs, helping operators to open up more of their IT and network assets to the market, to the partners. And on the right-hand side, as you can see, there are more partners as well. The number of partners have increased. There is no clogging up of requests because the system is now handling those requests. Also, this platform allows other operators in the market to enter and participate in this setup or this ecosystem that the operator, this leading operator, has invested in or provided. And also, different OTT players, they could open up their own systems, their own APIs for other partners in the ecosystem to use as well. So there's a lot of potential for innovation that can happen in this kind of environment.
Can I, sorry, Mohammed, sorry to interrupt, just a bit of clarification. Obviously, this is quite a detailed slide.
Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm what you mean by, for example, the green API circle on the operator side and the blue API circles on the OTT side. Is that what you were just describing about how it enables a sort of interchange of APIs and of sort of programming resource on both sides? Yeah,
pretty much. So the blue APIs on the right-hand side is just an indication, and these were missing in the previous illustration, if you noticed.
Yeah.
This is just to indicate that the partners are also able to open up their APIs via this platform for other partners to use. So that is one other benefit that is possible through this platform. But also the green API that you see on the operator's side, that's a carry forward from the previous illustration. That was one of the APIs which was very, very popular, and that's where the requests were getting clogged up because there were too many requests piling up at the person who was responding to these requests. Yeah. But now the platform is making it all smooth and nice, much more efficient. So that's what the illustration is showing. But also beyond this, as you can see, this particular platform allows other operators in the region to open up and participate in this ecosystem. So it is not just a single operator. It doesn't have to be a single operator-led initiative. It could be a multi-operator within a particular region who could cooperate in this initiative. But the operator who takes the lead, obviously, they have a better say. They have the lead and a little more controlling power. So that's the advantage as well. But having spoken all about these challenges and potential solutions, we still haven't addressed business case, as people say, show me the money. So I'm going to quickly move to that point now. And this is where the key findings from Nord Stream's research come in. They looked into the current non-platform based approach of partnerships, and they reckon that European operators, so especially Western Europe, so about 60 operators that they looked into across 16 different countries. So if they partnered with OTTs over a 3-year period, they estimate, Nord Stream estimates that these operators could be generating about 160 million euros. So that doesn't seem very significant or appealing, really. On the other hand, if the operators invested in a platform-based approach, Nord Stream research has estimated that these operators could be generating about 2.2 billion euros over a 3-year period. So that's clearly a massive increase.
And Mohammed, I may be interrupting before you're going to explain again. Mm-hmm. This is part of the danger of interrupting, but obviously that's a big old jump, isn't it? Between the non-platform and the platform-based approach. Does the Nord Stream research qualify that claim in a bit more detail?
Yes, absolutely. So in other words, you're saying how did they come up with this number? How do we realize this? Absolutely. So if we move on to the next slide. Basically, I think the premise of those numbers is a few things. First of all, the number of use cases. So in this particular chart, you can see the blue bars in the front. they are indicating the profit that operators, Western European operators, could make out of the non-platform-based approach, which you can clearly see is much smaller than the red bars behind, which are much larger. So basically, the number of use cases that operators are able to handle or bring to the market without a platform is limited. With the platform, the number of use cases increases. So when I say use cases, as you can see currently, Nord Stream research just focused on two types of use cases: bundling of content and sponsored data. But within bundling, as you can see, they've focused primarily on movie and video-based bundling and also music bundling. But there is so many other types of content that operators could potentially partner with and get better returns out of. And that's what the platform does. As you can see, the other content bundle, there is no revenue coming out in the non-platform approach, but in the platform approach, there is a significant revenue figure there. And also, there could be many other use cases like product convergence between communication products and various other types of content from the OTTs, top-ups, data being offered as incentives to consumers, direct operator billing, that's another interesting one. And there are several other use cases that operators could expand that pool of use cases.
Okay, so what you seem to be saying is it's not just that operators can free themselves from having to negotiate with sort of dominant tier one OTTs, but they also allow for greater innovation in terms of the combinations and the types of OTT services and content that can be offered. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's precisely that. Yeah. And also the revenue per use case, it's not just the number of use cases, but also the revenue per use case is going to go up. And that's primarily because the targeting or marketing of these new converged products will be much better because OTTs will get access to much more advanced business intelligence-based systems, which will help them segment customers much more precisely and send appropriate offers to the right customer at the right time. And that's just one example. There's a whole plethora of much more advanced systems that operators' IT stacks contain that the OTTs could benefit out of. So basically, all this impacts the uptake, and that directly boosts the revenue or profits that operators make out of these partnerships. So yeah, that's one of the ways in which the returns are multiplied. Another way that the profitability and take-up increases is basically, as you look at this chart, it's showing you all those countries that Nord Stream researched, and it shows you the revenue that these partnerships have generated, the profits that these partnerships have generated in different approaches. The yellow bars, they are basically the non-platform profits. And as you can see, some of the countries there, the yellow bars are slightly taller than the others. And that's because those countries, the ones with taller bars, they are the larger countries: Germany, UK, Italy, France, Spain. But all the others, those bars are very tiny. In fact, some of them are actually getting into the negative zone, indicating that the partnerships are actually unprofitable. Because when you're partnering with OTTs, there is a cost that's being incurred. And if you are having partnerships like you have most of the cases with Facebook, there's pretty much no revenue that you're getting out of that. You are no revenue and cost. It's basically a loss-making venture. So that's the issue. Whereas with a platform-based approach, you can circumvent that issue. Because a platform basically reduces the costs, it also boosts the revenue. So it's rebalancing the equation and turning around that entire challenge into an opportunity. And as you can see, also the revenue the bars have significantly increased in a platform-based approach. And the costs, it has been estimated that platform can reduce costs by about 90%. So clearly, that is the reason why this is improving. So this is all about the findings coming out of the research. Now, very quickly, I'm going to talk a little bit about a case study that we have from the market. This is from China. we could see China as being a very different market and maybe not relevant in Europe. However, China is very, very similar to the Western markets. It is continuously being liberalized, although there are three major mobile operators. Very recently, there have been several licenses that have been issued to several MVNO players. Alibaba, which has just launched their IPO, is also one of the MVNOs being launched in China. But apart from that, within the OTT space, you think of Facebook, you think of Twitter, WhatsApp, Spotify. All of these, they have their Chinese counterparts, if you might call them, in China. And they are giving these traditional telecom operators in China a tough time as well. Now, China Telecom saw this challenge emerging way back in 2010, 2011, and they started engaging with AsiaInfo, who's a long-term IT partner for China Telecom. And after a lot of discussion and a lot of ideas being thrown around, they said, we need to work on a partnership platform. And that is where O2P was formulated. And in 2011, this platform went live. And since then, China Telecom, I've been told, has got over 20 OTT partners in China right now in different provinces. And they've got some very innovative use cases. I've just showed one of them in this particular slide here, where basically an online clothing retailer, they purchase mobile data cards in wholesale from China Telecom. And each of these data cards or vouchers has a unique authentication card. And basically, this retailer gives these data cards as an incentive for customers who buy its goods on these online platforms. And these customers who win these vouchers, data vouchers, they use these vouchers and immediately their data gets topped up on their balances. So this is just one of the examples of a use case that they are working with.
Yeah, that's an interesting example. To me, it sort of illustrates the micro-targeted nature of things. If you try and have a broad brush relationship with a tier one OTT, then it's going to be a sort of one-size-fits-all thing. So what you seem to be saying is that this can allow for quite specific deals, both in terms of the commercial nature and the geographical nature. I mean, if I understood you earlier, some of these OTT players in China are quite sort of provincially limited. Is that correct? So this is enabling a bit of geographical scaling within China. Is that right?
Absolutely. There is the geographical angle, but also I think, Scott, you brought up a very good point. But also there is the cross-vertical angle that is being addressed here, because the digital ecosystem is no longer just telecom-based. You're going to have retailers, you're going to have utility providers, hospitals and diagnostic centers, and education providers, and all sorts of players in there. They're all going to have their unique needs, or unique business cases, and products and services to offer. And without a platform, it's going to be very difficult to address that variety. And when you have a self-serve based approach that is easy to use for people of these different requirements, it's going to become a lot more easier, and the creativity and innovation that's going to come out of it, it's going to be pretty big.
Yeah, no, I hear you loud and clear. You seem to be saying that this platform approach is like the antidote, the alternative to the one-size-fits-all approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we see in China Telecom's case, they have been very, very innovative with the variety of use cases. I'm not talking about several of them here, as I've just presented one of those. There are many more that we have seen, and this has all been very possible and efficient operationally because of this platform. And it's not just about making the operations efficient, but it's also about the returns coming out of it. Is this entire venture profitable or not? We've actually got some figures about the revenue that China Telecom's been making through this platform incrementally in these partnerships. We've got figures that within 1 month, China Telecom has raises of over $170 million. And that's based on 21 million top-up API calls that are generated and about 390,000 subscription API calls. and about 4 million traffic charging API calls. Now, China Telecom, if they wanted, they could charge the OTT partners based on every API that is being called or every time the platform is being used. But they've rather chosen to take a share of the revenue that is being generated. And as you can see, that model is clearly working for them and is generating significant revenues. So this is just one of the case studies and an example of a platform helping the entire objective of partnerships being profitable and beneficial to operators. So in summary, Scott, basically what I'm trying to say is clearly operators have several issues in the OTT partnership domain. Commercial deals seems to be one of the prime challenges, and working around that is possible. And the way to do that is to stop focusing on the handful of large OTT players who control the strings of negotiations with the operators. So the trick is basically to expand the partnership pool and move to several innovative players out in the market. And when you do that, technology comes under focus, and a B2B collaboration platform can help you make that transition better, and the entire operations becomes much more efficient and profit generating. Over to you again, Scott.
Okay, thanks very much, Mohammed, for sharing those insights with us. That was fascinating. As I mentioned earlier, we have some time for Q&A. To submit a question, you just need to type it into the comments box on this page, and the answers will appear as text in the comment stream. There's no audio element to the Q&A, so please fire away. So it just remains for me to thank Mohammed and AsiaInfo for making today's telecoms.com webinar possible, and to thank everyone who joined us for the presentation. I hope you found it useful, and please look out for upcoming webinars that will explore other key topics affecting the telecoms industry today.